Hello, everybody. Thank you for the kind introduction, Arabella. Yes, I represent Federation of Polish Patients, which is the umbrella patient organization, which unites different disease-specific patients organizations from all over Poland. But my background is actually in rare diseases. I'm also a board member of National Forum for Rare Disease Therapies Orphan in Poland, which is also another umbrella patient organization dedicated to rare diseases, part of EuroDis in Poland. I have been always interested in research and development of new innovative medicines. And as you know, in rare diseases, it is even more important because we estimate around 10,000 rare diseases, but only 5% of all of them have a dedicated therapy, which means that 95% of patients with rare disease are still waiting for the development of a safe and efficient drug. So this unmet need here in this area of rare diseases is really huge. But I don't need to tell you this because you already know for your disease, there is also no dedicated therapy as far as I'm concerned. So that's why I was very eager to join the initiative of creating a platform where patients can learn of research and development of new drugs, where they can find reliable information on clinical trials and educate how they can actively participate in the whole process. Because we can, as patients, participate not only in clinical trials, but we should participate in the whole process of creating a new drug. Uh, well, I have sent you guys my presentation. Would it be possible to just have it on the screen?
Sure. I'll take care of it in a minute.
Wonderful. Well, in the meantime, when we are talking about clinical trials and the whole process of creating new drugs, I think that patients, we generally, people, don't think about the whole process when we, take a drug. When we have a headache, for example, we just simply go to pharmacies, buy a tablet for headache, and that's it. But even this simple painkiller or even the vitamin C to be registered as a drug and to be available for patients in pharmacies, for example, it had to undergo the whole process of research and development with clinical trials, of course. May I have a next slide, please? Yes, it is. That's perfect. Can I have a next slide then, please? So
yes,
today I would like, yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. So today I would like to briefly tell you about the whole process. I have graduated the European Patient Academy on Therapeutic Innovation, EUPATI, as Arabella already mentioned. This academy is 1.5 year study with exams after each module and the end examination to gain the title of EUPATI Fellow. Today we have just half an hour, so I will try to condensate the topic and present you with the really basic knowledge about the whole process. But if you want to extend your knowledge in certain areas of expertise, I encourage you to use EUPATI Toolbox, which you can see here, the link on this slide. This is a great tool, a reliable source of knowledge created by experts in clinical trials, doctors, medical lawyers from all over Europe. But what's most important, it is a tool which was created together with patient representatives, with patients. So it guarantees that the knowledge here, the information here are in lay language. They are easy to understand for patients. So I really recommend it to you. Moreover, this tool is available in 13 languages and used by 8 million users all over the world. So you can even use it in your own language, probably. May I have the next slide, please? if you're willing to invest some more time and learn more in more structuralized way and become an expert, then I encourage you to take part in the EUPATI Patient Expert Training Program. It is a training program about the medicine's development process. So it covers the entire life cycle of medicine's research and development, from the design, execution of research projects and clinical trials, of course, to regulatory processes and health technology assessment. So it takes approximately 1.5 years. The only limitation here is that the course is available only in English. Some materials I will present you during my presentation today come from this European course. So, as I said, I full-heartedly recommend you to extend your knowledge using these two tools, which are really reliable source of information about clinical trials. Okay, so let's get started then. May I have the next slide, please? Before we start, I would like to ask you 3 questions. Next one. The first one is, what do you think developing a new drug takes approximately how much time? It's like a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of months, a couple of years. What would you estimate? What do you think? How long can it take?
10 to 15. 15, yes.
Yeah, we actually know it because we've been experiencing it. There are some drug treatments, so it takes ages, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, more than 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Please press another enter. Yes, of course, it's around approximately 12 years. Of course, it depends on the disease. It depends on many other factors. But yes, it's a long process. Please press one. Yes, and during this time, highly qualified scientists from various fields work to discover a potential molecule that could become a new drug. The study, they study between 5,000 and 10,000 compounds, so at least 2 substances connected. So you can imagine 300,000 substances a day, enormous amount of studies of substances which are studied during this time. So practically millions during the whole process. So my question is, what do you think? How many of these millions, let's say, advance to animal and then later on human testing?
A couple. That's very few, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It's like 4 or 5, around 4 or 5, which advance to animal and human testing. So you can see the enormous work which is done just in the laboratory before even the clinical trial or preclinical trial start. Okay, so the last question. What is the cost of developing one drug? Approximately again, yes? What do you think? Taking into consideration all these around 12 years, all the studies, etc.
Billions.
It's billions.
Billions. Before you know everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're right. It's around 2 billion euros. 2 billion euros, yes. Yeah, absolutely. So as you can see, medicine development is a high-risk venture. So it takes really a long time, and it's very expensive. All right. I see that you have gone already to the next slide. That's great. Here you can see the steps which are involved in developing a new medicine. So let's start with the first one. Of course, we will focus on the third one, the clinical development, but I just wanted you to know the whole process, just to have the overview, what is happening where. So the first one is research and discovery. To develop a new drug, we firstly need to what? What do you think? What is needed on the beginning?
So, a target, I would say.
Yes, but before even we have targets, we have to understand the disease. When we do not understand the disease, we cannot find any new therapies for the disease, because we do not know what happened in a human body that the disease is seen in the body. So we try to understand the disease. And of course, we determine the unmet need. The unmet need refers to a disease where either there is no suitable medicine available, or there is a medicine, but some patients might have unacceptable side effects or are not able to take this medicine. Yes? So when we understand, we can start non-clinical development. So please press another. Yes, exactly. We are going to non-clinical development. Next slide, please. We divide non-clinical studies to practically 3 parts, let's say. The first one are in silico studies. So the study is done on a computer or via computer simulation, for example, to predict how toxic the medicinal product is based on its chemical structure. Then we have in vitro studies, which is the Latin abbreviation for within a glass. So this is a study which is done outside of a living organism and under control, for example, by use of hepatocyte cultures for metabolic studies. So just cells or tissues or cells from liver, for example. And then the last stage are in vivo studies, which is the abbreviation for within the living. So this study is carried out using a whole living organism instead of tissue or cells. And of course, firstly, we carry out these studies on animals and plants. This is part of non-clinical studies. It's necessary to have all these stages to go and carry out studies in the living organism, in humans. May I have the next slide, please? Well, non-clinical studies are designed to different things on different stages. They are designed to identify medicine's pharmacodynamics. So what a medicine does to the body, in other words. They are designed to identify a medicine's pharmacokinetics. So what the body does to the medicine. We also determine a medicine's toxicology, so how poisonous or toxic the drug is before giving it to humans. We have to check it. We, of course, determine a medicine's safety, which is absolutely crucial in not only in clinical studies, but also in preclinical studies. And we estimate the first dose to be used in first-in-human studies. And the last thing, but not least, is drug formulation. You know what drug formulation is? You probably know. An active ingredient has to be somehow incorporated into a suitable form of administration so that it can be transported to the part of the body where the drug is needed, because we do not want it to influence the whole body, but only the diseased parts. New medicine can be designed as tablet, syrup, cream, I don't know, blister, injections, many different forms. It depends, of course, whether it should work or absorbed quickly or slowly. let's take an example of these painkillers. Yes, we have a headache, we take a tablet, and we expect it will work quickly as possible. But sometimes drug needs to be a prolonged release drug, which means that, for example, in arterial hypertension, we take one drug, but it regulates our blood pressure during the whole day, not only works for 1 hour, yes? So this is exactly the formulation. And the administration can be different in different age groups, of course. For example, for small children, preferred form of medicine will be syrup, not a tablet, because it's easier and safer for kids who may have problems with swallowing. So as you can see, all these things have to be decided before clinical trial even start. May I have the next slide, please?
Sure.
Yes. Before medicine can be tested in clinical studies, the following must be ensured. So non-clinical safety is evaluated under GLP conditions, which is good laboratory practice, quality standards, which are set for laboratory studies. Manufacturing of both active substance and medicinal product is executed under proper quality control. Data and process are documented according to a CTD format, which is the common technical document, an internationally agreed format for preparation of marketing applications to regulatory authorities for new medicines approval. And data and processes are documented according to, this is what I said, and this all build the foundation for the clinical development phase. May I have the next slide, please? Well, I probably will skip this slide, but I just wanted to tell you that development of new medicine is not just a medical experiment. It's a very specific medical experiment. It is a detailed, planned process, strictly controlled by international agencies from the very beginning. Here you can have the example of controlling of the process in a non-clinical development, but this is controlled also in clinical development, which is crucial for the safety of patients. These regulatory authorities are, for example, EMA, the European Medicines Agency in Europe, the FDA in the United States, or PMDA in Japan, who just keep harmonizing or unifying the guidelines for clinical and non-clinical development. And they focus, of course, on safety and quality. May I have the next slide, please? So when the non-clinical phases confirm safety and efficacy of the potential new drug, because now we are still not talking about the drug, this is just a potential new drug. So when the non-clinical phases are successful, then the sponsor submits an application to receive consent to conduct a clinical trial in humans, because clinical trials are in humans, yes, in a certain country. Of course, these consents have to be given in each country where the clinical trials will take part, because each country, let's say, decides about their own citizens. So we smoothly go to this part you can see in red, clinical development phases. As you can see, we have 1, 2, 3 phases. Then there will be regulatory review, and they can be or is the phase number 4 of clinical trials. May I have the next slide, please? Okay. I think that we can skip that because these are just legal things which are not that important. We do not have so much time to go into details. But I would like you to see the short movie, which takes just 5 minutes, but it really shows very nicely how the whole process of clinical trials looks like. So would it be possible to play it, please?
I'll try.
I guess that you need to just go to this, yeah.
In a minute.
Can you go to YouTube?
Yes, you can play it in YouTube from the link, yes.
Yes, we have two screens, so just let me bring the other screen up so we can all look at it.
Oh, that's perfect.
Just give me a sec.
This is the story of a clinical trial that took place in 1747 on board a British Royal Navy ship. To test which was the best way to treat scurvy, the ship's doctor gave 6 different treatments that were recommended at the time to pairs of sailors. One of these treatments was oranges and lemons. The 2 sailors who were given oranges and lemons recovered. This trial resolved the uncertainty and revealed which treatment was effective. Since 1747, things have changed, of course. But even now, as in those days, the best way to address uncertainty about the benefits and drawbacks of treatments is to do a clinical trial. Clinical trial. First point. As part of what will be done in a clinical trial, the protocol must be formally approved not by the researchers who propose it, since they may have a conflict of interest, but by an ethics committee, with independent experts and representatives of citizens. Second point. Patients must be divided into groups. Patients in one group receive the treatment being tested. Patients in the control group do not. In some cases, the control group will receive a placebo, an inactive preparation that is otherwise identical to the experimental treatment. However, when there is already a proven effective treatment, patients in the control group should receive the best treatment available. Patients are allocated to the groups at random, for example by drawing lots. This is called randomization, and it helps form groups that are similar, so that when their results are compared at the end, differences are due to the interventions given and not to pre-existing differences. Third point. In some trials, patients do not know if they're taking the treatment or the placebo. This is called blinding, and stops their expectations influencing the results. It is also helpful if doctors do not know who is in the treatment or control group, as this also prevents both deliberate and unintentional bias. This is called double blinding. Fourth point. At the end of a trial, the results must be analysed by unbiased researchers who do not have a vested interest in the findings. Fifth point. A double-blind clinical trial must be replicated in other independent trials. Sixth point. It's not enough that the new treatment is shown to be more effective than the control. It must really improve patients' health. So its benefits and risks must be carefully evaluated to make sure that the pros outweigh any cons. Pitfalls and traps. Placebo should not be used when there are other effective treatments already available. The comparison should be made with the best treatment available. So that the research results can be confidently used to guide practice, a trial must include patients the treatment is intended. Children, elderly people, ethnic minorities and women are too frequently excluded from research. Pitfalls can arise in evaluating if a treatment is effective. For example, although high levels of cholesterol are a risk factor for myocardial infarction, a new treatment aimed at reducing cholesterol cannot be considered effective in preventing myocardial infarction unless it reduces mortality. Simply reducing cholesterol is not enough. A treatment must be evaluated for its ability to improve outcomes that are important to patients. There may be shortcomings in the design of clinical trials. The aim is not just to decide whether a new treatment is as effective as the current standard treatment. Clinical trials must be designed to show whether a proposed new treatment is better than an existing treatment. Patients want to know whether a new treatment is actually better, not just the same, or simply no worse. The health of everyone can be protected and promoted by healthcare decisions that are informed by high-quality health research and clinical trials. The European Union, which sponsors clinical research on treatments of interest to patients and the public, can support better organization, transparency, and independence of clinical trials.
Perfect, thank you. Can we come back to the presentation now? So yes, that was the overview of all these phases of clinical trials. I would like you to focus now on each of the phase separately. So we have already discussed the preclinical, as you can see, and now we will go to the first phase, phase 1, clinical trials. Next slide, please. Phase 1, this is an exploratory trial, proof of mechanism. So we conduct here preliminary safety studies. The group of participants here is very small. Next slide, please. What is the characteristic of this phase? First of all, place. This phase is conducted in a dedicated inpatient clinic with or near an intensive care unit. Why? Because we do not know all the unexpected serious adverse reactions, and we have to be prepared for those if they occur. So the participants must be observed by full-time staff, and all possible safety provisions are in place. Participants. These studies are conducted in healthy volunteer participants, young men. There are some trials which are done in first phase in patients, but they are very specific. What do you think? What kind of trials are there? So not healthy volunteers participate, but patients already in the first phase.
Usually you do have this 1/2 phase clinical trial for people with rare conditions, for instance, or very severe conditions.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. It can happen when the disease is really life-threatening, or in cancers, because the medicines are too toxic to give them to healthy volunteers. So these two cases. But generally speaking, when we discuss the phase 1, we think about healthy volunteer participants. Okay, next one. How about payment? What do you think? Are the participants paid?
No. Perhaps. Cost
reimbursed. Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, this is the different thing. You're right, absolutely. Actually, when the healthy volunteers take part in phase 1, they are paid. Of course, payment must never be related to a risk, and the amount must be stated in the informed consent document, and it must be accepted by the ethics committee. But this is actually the only phase the participants can be paid. You are right that participants later on in later phases, when in the clinical trial take part patients, they are not paid, but they are reimbursed. Because clinical trial must be fully free of charge for the participant. Okay, next one, please. As you may expect, the risk here is the highest, right? The lower the number of phases, the risk is higher. Of course, we identified the risk on animal models. We do not know what will happen when we try this potential new drug in humans. So that's why we are prepared for this. And of course, we have guidelines for identifying and mitigating risk among phase 1 participants, because safety is the most important thing. All right, I see that I do not have so much time, so I will not go further in the details in this phase 1. But what I would like you to remember...
You do have time, because the next speaker, unfortunately, had an issue, and is at the emergency with his son. So you can take your time. I think that your presentation is quite interesting. So take your time and go through whatever you think is important.
All right, thank you. I'm just, quickly looking at the clock, and that's why, normally when I lead such trainings for patients in Poland, we have 3 days of talking about clinical trials. So I'm sorry not to elaborate all these, details, but it's not possible, of course. But if we have time, that's great. So phase 1. We are checking, first of all, most importantly, safety of a new potential drug. Of course, we also see what is the tolerability of the dose range. Yes, what is the smallest dose? What should be the maximum dose where the drug starts to be toxic? We check the effect the body has on medicine, so pharmacokinetics. You can see on the slide what this pharmacokinetics actually is. Here you can see the principles of ADME, which is the absorption, how will it get in, how the drug will get into the body. Then distribution, so where it will go, how it will be transported somehow to the body. Will it go exactly to this place we need it to go, or it will influence other tissues or other parts of our body? Then metabolism, so how the drug or this drug is broken down. Of course, we think here mostly about liver. And the excretion, so how does it leave out of the body? During phase 1, we also check the effect of a medicine on the body, so pharmacodynamics. And of course, other interactions drug-drug, between drugs, or interactions with food, etc. When you take some drugs and you read the leaflets, there are sometimes information that you shouldn't take this drug and drink, I don't know, orange juice or something like that. Yes, because the drug won't work in a proper way. So all these things are checked in phase 1. Next slide, please. Yes, so as you can see, we have checked the drug in phase 1 on healthy participants. If this phase was successful, then we can go to the next phase. Please remember one thing: if on any stage we discover that something is unsafe, or there were some effects we didn't want, serious effects, then there is stop in clinical trials. We have to come back to the very beginning. We cannot continue the studies. Let's imagine the phase 1 was successful, so we go to phase number 2. We check here safety and efficacy, because this is the first time when we check this drug on patients, so we can see whether this drug really works for this certain disease. Here, of course, we have much more participants, because we have already checked in phase 1 that the drug is safe for people. Look at the characteristics. First of all, proof of concept. Can we obtain proof that the study drug works? And not only works, it's active, but it works better than other products available for this specific indication, for this specific disease, which is available on the market, yes? Sometimes we compare the drug to placebo, but sometimes we compare the drug to other therapy which is already on the market. What about place? Can we have phase 2 trial at home as well? Or only in clinics, in hospitals?
Depending on the method of administration, it could be at home if it's a tablet.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes. So checkups, of course, in clinics, in hospitals, but in many cases, drug administration can be done at home. Of course, it depends on drug being tested and the disease, because sometimes the drug is in form of infusions, so it's not possible to administer it at home. But generally speaking, it is possible in many cases. When it comes to participants, you already know these are patients. This is first trial in patients. The group is much bigger than in phase 1 trial, approximately 100-500 patients. And participants are typically selected using strict inclusion criteria. Why is it so? What do you think?
Well, because we want to be 100% sure, but at the higher probability that there will be no other features of the patients which might influence the outcome of the clinical trial.
Absolutely, absolutely. The group must be relatively homogeneous because it helps in interpretation of studies. We have to compare apples to apples and not apples to pears, let's say. And this is what we have already tackled, reimbursement. Participants in phase 2 studies may receive reimbursement for travel, for meals, for accommodation costs if necessary. Sometimes they also receive compensation for lost working days. But it depends on study. The amount of compensation must be, of course, approved by the bioethics committee in each country. So it cannot, let's say, encourage patients to take part in trials because of this compensation, let's say. All right, next slide, please. Yes, when we are talking about clinical studies and phase 2 studies, we have a group of people, and we need to, let's say, we need to divide all participants into at least 2 groups. We need to provide reliable scientific research and check whether the study drug really works. So we need to compare. One group will receive a drug. This is treatment group, as you can see in the slide. And the other will receive placebo or another available therapy. And this is control group. Of course, this is the easiest division. We have a lot of different, but this is crucial, to be able to compare the results in these 2 groups and have and know whether this drug really works. Of course, now it is done by a computer program, and this randomization is the process of randomly assigning study participants to treatment and control group. So it is not done by doctors or by any other person in the clinical trial. It is just randomized by a computer. All right. Here you have randomization types examples, but maybe because sometimes there are not only 2 arms of a trial, but we have 3 arms. Or we check 2 drugs together, or the combination of drugs, how they work together, or we have crossover trials. It's with this period where no drug is taken, but it's not that important. I would like to ask you one question. When we divide participants into groups, which are called arms in clinical trial, do these participants know which group they were assigned to?
No.
Should they know, in your opinion? What do you think?
No.
We're blind.
Yeah.
Well, it depends, because some kinds of treatment you cannot blind. So you can have an unblinded randomized trial, but most of them are blinded randomized.
Yes,
trials.
absolutely. Absolutely. You're right. So let's go to next slide, please. Because you can see here the blinding. Of course, blinding is to avoid bias. It's a procedure in which one or more parties in a trial are kept unaware of which treatment arms participants have been assigned to. In other words, which treatment was received. And as you said, this is to avoid bias and to ensure objectivity. We have different kind of blinding. I will just tell you what kind of blinding types do we have. But the important thing is that our subconsciousness is a powerful thing. When we believe that we receive a miraculous, innovative substance, our body can miraculously improve. This is something which is difficult to explain, but it is like this. So even if we receive only placebo, the effect can be seen. So that is why we usually blind trials. The most common one is double blinding. So the participant and the clinicians do not know which participant receives which drug or placebo or other treatment. Because doctors can also be biased when they know, for example, the patient receives a drug, he or she should be better. Yes. So this double blinding is the most common. But we have also open label studies. So all parties are aware of the treatment the participant receives. And these are usually these studies for cancer, because these treatments are toxic. So patient have to decide whether he or she wants to take this kind of treatment or do not want to take it. We have, of course, single-blinded studies where only participant is unaware, and triple-blind. This is where nobody knows, actually, even the data analysts and data collectors. Okay, next slide, please. By the way, guys, do you have questions till now?
I would add one. Again, because we have rare disorders and the population is very small, and sometimes it's very, very, very small. What kind of tools do we have to build the arms of the clinical trial? And I am wondering about numeric twins or something like this. Can you add some words about that?
Yes, in rare disease area is really very complicated because we do not have enough patients to check in clinical trials. So usually we are not able to meet all the requirements which are set by regulators. Plus, the problem in clinical trials is also that companies are not really interested in having such trials because the population is too small. When you want to, sell a drug and it will be a painkiller for headache, you will sell millions of drugs. But when you have a very small population, like in rare diseases, the cost of the drug will be very, very high. Or so people will not be able to have this drug because it won't be available, and even the countries won't be really interested to pay so much money for one person. So there were discussions on the European Union level that companies should have incentives when it comes to rare disease area to encourage them to take part or to start some clinical trials for those patients, because you can think that in this particular disease this is a very small population, but generally the population of rare disease patients is huge. Only in Poland is 3 million people diseased by rare disease. It's 30 million people in Europe, 300 millions in the whole world. So the population is not that small. So of course, patient organizations, patient activists do everything on each levels to encourage not only companies but also governments to take part in clinical trials and to try to invest money in this area, which is not really very successful, looking at the amount of drugs for rare diseases available for patients. As I said on the beginning, just 5% of all rare diseases with dedicated disease therapies. So yes.
I think the development of orphan drugs is different from the development of ordinary drugs. No, the path is different. No?
Well, Marzena, Andrea is commenting that the path to developing drug for rare disease is a little bit different. I'm thinking about the orphan drug program, for instance, that allows and somehow pushes a company to invest because they get a quicker path to the approval and they get some benefits, economic benefits for investing to orphan drugs. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It is like this, to encourage companies to even look at the rare disease area, because normally they were never, let's say, so much interested in this area. Yeah. Okay, let's just come back to the whole process. Actually, even in rare disease area, we have all these phases. We have to have them. They may look a little bit different. They may be a little bit more or sometimes less complicated, depending on the disease, etc. But they need to go through all these phases. And phase 3, let's go to the next slide, please. Is definitely confirming the effectiveness of a test substance. Of course, we are proving safety again, because safety has to be checked in all phases. And but here in this phase, we focus on effectiveness during short and long term of usage of the drug. Next slide, please. As you can see here in phase 3, there is much larger and more diverse group of patients. And finally, we confirm that the product is efficient and safe in patients with the indicated condition. And interestingly, statistically, even in general population, a very small percentage of drugs advance to this phase number 3. You can see here in 2024, out of approximately 11,000 drugs tested, only 1,300 advanced to phase 3. Which means that even in normal, let's say, trials, they are cut, they are just closed because the substance occurred to be not safe enough or not effective enough to be a drug. When the phase 3 finishes, let's click another one. Let's go further with the slides, please. Yes, after phase 3, the drug can be submitted to approval by EMA in Europe, European Medicines Agency, or by FDA in the US. And in some cases, these institutions may require to perform phase 4 of clinical studies. Next one. Yes, and the next one. Because phase 4 is the phase after submission to approval, and it takes a lot of participants. Next slide, please. The phase 4 studies are known as post-authorization safety studies and may be voluntary or, as I said, imposed by regulatory authorities. Actually, the phase 4 studies collect additional information about side effects and safety, long-term risks and benefits, or how well the medicine works when used widely. Here you have patient involvement in medicines research and development, the roadmap proposed by EUPATI, because as I said, we are focusing on clinical trials, but generally patients have really a unique expertise and their perspective as people living with disease every single day. And this perspective should be used during all process of creating a new drugs, not only in clinical trials when we take part as participants, but during the whole process. It has been proven that clinical trials, which were co-designed with patients or patient representatives, are much more successful than those where patients weren't co-creators. Because as you can see in the slide, we can take part in many activities on many stages of developing a new drug. Starting with setting research priorities, designing together the protocol or patient information, leaflets, etc. Currently, patient participation in the process, in the whole process, on stages other than study participants is required by law only in one particular case, namely in bioethical committees. I'm happy to be the first patient expert in Polish Supreme Bioethical Committee. And we as patients also sit together with other stakeholders at one table and assess clinical trial applications. So it's really very important for patients to be there, because then, as I said, the the clinical trial is much likely to be safe and effective for patients who take part in the trial. But as I said, we should, as patients, take part on all stages in creating new drugs. The last thing I would like to tell you today is something which is absolutely crucial when we consider taking part in clinical trials as participant. This is the informed consent form. This is something, the main document, which is assessed by the bioethical committees in each country. This document must be in the language of the country. So this is assessed in all countries where the clinical trial take place, yes. And why this informed consent form is so important? Because it states about study purpose. In this document, we have full information about potential benefits and potential risks, because we already know what has happened in the previous phases. So when we consider, for example, taking part in phase number 2, we already know what has happened in phase number 1. They already noticed what were the potential benefits or risks. In the informed consent form, we have also the description of all procedures which will be done during the clinical trial. So we know what we can expect during the trial. And of course, there is the description and information about rights and our obligation. What we need to do when we take part in this clinical trial, and what is our right? What kind of rights do we have when we are participant in a clinical trial? The question is, can we withdraw from a clinical trial when we sign the informed consent form? What do you think?
Yes.
I think we do.
Of course. Of course. So let's go to the next slide, please. This is our basic right, yes. To withdraw from the clinical trial, we do not need to give a reason for our decision, and it cannot influence our standard care. This is our right as patients. It's very important. The most important thing which is written in law in all countries where the clinical trials happen is that the informed consent form must be prepared in lay language. So it must be understandable for patients. It cannot be written in some medical or technical language patient cannot understand. Because patient have to agree to these terms. So he or she must understand what it all means for him or for her. Clear choice of the patient to participate. Yes, nobody can be forced to take part in the clinical trials. We have to take this decision on our own. And patient must have time to read and understand the informed consent form. As I said, this is absolutely crucial for patients. So we need to have this time to read and understand. The informed consent form is sometimes very long. So we shouldn't hesitate to ask questions if we do not understand something. we should have time to decide. So it's not like you go to the hospital, they ask you to sign the contract and you don't have time to think. You can also, this is your right, you can consult your decision with other people, with your family, with your husband, with your kids, with your other doctors, if you wish. And as we already discussed, you can change your mind anytime, and it doesn't influence the process of your standard treatment. In informed consent form, as I have already mentioned, there is a description of the whole study. So how long is the study? Sometimes these clinical studies you will take part in will take 3 years or 5 years. This is all written in this consent form. How many appointments you will have during this time? What procedures will be done during the studies? All details, how it will look like. So we are never surprised during studies. We know that from the beginning, what we agree to. Of course, all procedures have to be understandable. So not only the name of the procedure it should be said, but also what the procedure means for patients, how it looks like. So you know exactly what you are, what you will undergo. Of course, there is an information about contraceptions requirements, because during clinical studies, pregnancies is not allowed, as you may, of course, suspect, because we do not know what influence it could have on this child. Then, description of reimbursement. As we already mentioned, clinical trial is always free of charge for participants. So cost of transport, accommodation, food, if necessary, it all depends on the study, of course, but they must be reimbursed. Of course, in informed consent form, you will find also information about data protection, which is important because you, let's say, give your medical data, which should be and are protected by law. Then compensation for health damage. So in the informed consent form, you need to have the information about insurance policy number. This is also important, and this is required by law. And the last but not least, drug availability after clinical trial. Please always check whether the drug will be available when the clinical trial finishes. Because it's not, unfortunately, it's not required by law. The company is not obligated to give patients the drug, even when the trial is successful, the drug is safe and efficient. It's not always the case that the patient will have the drug after the clinical trial finishes. In the process of registration and reimbursement in certain countries, sometimes take a long time. It's around 3 years approximately. So please make sure that when you participate in a trial, the drug will be available. Sometimes it is available that the investor propose the drug in form of compassionate use or follow-up study. Compassionate use is just a kind of usage of product that you get the drug free of charge. But the trial finishes and till the drug is reimbursed in your country, you can have it. And follow-up study is a kind of availability of a drug when well, it looks like a clinical trial, prolonged clinical trial, let's say. It is very rarely used. So when you will have the drug available after clinical trial, it will be probably in form of compassionate use. But for patient, actually, it doesn't matter. What matters for patient is to have the drug available after clinical studies. Yeah, and I think that's it. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, thank you, Marzena, very much for your very nice and interesting presentation. I have a comment and a question. So the comment is to give you more context about our condition. In CMT, we have to face two further hurdles. The first one is the outcome measures. I mean, luckily, our disease does not progress this fast. So we need very sensitive tools to perceive any improvement or worsening of our condition and symptoms. At the moment, we don't have them. We are working on that. There might be the magnetic resonance imaging, which might be effective in that sense, but well, we still need a very sensitive tool to perceive these minor improvements or worsening.
It's very slow progression.
That's what I said. Yeah. The second hurdle we face is that the drug should reach, generally speaking, nerves, peripheral nerves, basically. And because our nervous system is quite important for us and for our surviving, the nature further protected it with it's called brain-blood barrier.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of a further sheet that covers and protects our nerves and doesn't allow drugs and other molecules to enter the nerves. So this is a further hurdle that we have to face while designing and testing drugs for peripheral nerves. And the question is about the EUPATI program, Marzena. I am a medicinal chemist and I have a PhD in pharmaceutical sciences. So I would love to qualify as a EUPATI patient, but I do have a full-time job and I can't sustain the 1 year and a half program. So I was wondering whether there's a chance to just apply for the exam to get this title. Study,
Yes.
of course, and
Yes, absolutely. The program on the beginning, when designed, was just dedicated to patients who will take part physically in the program. As I said, it was a 1.5 year program with 2 face-to-face meetings in Madrid or in Barcelona at that time. But now this whole study is available for everybody who is interested. As far as I'm concerned, it's free of charge, but you need to pay for the exams if you want to be officially the expert, EUPATI expert. So just go to this page and check it out. But all modules are free of charge, so you can go. You can even choose those modules which are the most interesting for you. So you don't need to go through all the program, just to those modules which are of interest to you. And after each module, there is a test, and for this test, for this exam, you need to pay if you want to have. Let's say a certificate. If not, you don't need to pay. Yes. So yes, and you can do it fully online right now. Yes, you don't need to, let's say, be part of this training program, which has these 2 face-to-face meetings. which are, on the other hand, very interesting. I mean, because you can, meet with other stakeholders, which are doctors, which are people involved in clinical trials, and ask them face-to-face questions based on the knowledge you have already gained from the online course. But it's not necessary, as I said, yes. So you can do the course fully online and even get the certificate online when you pass the exams.
Okay.
Marzena, did it change recently? Because I graduated in 2021 and you had to do the whole training. I did it online because of COVID that time, so we didn't have the face-to-face meetings, but everything was online and you had to pass every module. So, but we did not pay for exams. So maybe the changes are more recent, right?
Well, you have been part of the cohorts, I understand. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So, the cohorts. Let's say this is another thing. Yes. So you can apply to be to, let's say, take part in these cohorts, and this allows you to go through the course online, and you will be enrolled to these 2 face-to-face meetings in person. And then you will have the, let's say, you will be a EUPATI fellow after the course. But you can go through the whole course, which looks exactly the same, but without these face-to-face meetings. You can be an expert, but you are not EUPATI fellow in this meaning because you didn't finish the course with these face-to-face meetings. And you need to then pay for the exams when you want to have certification. I know it's a little bit complicated, but there are 2 ways of gaining this knowledge.
What is the cost of the
exam?
I'm not sure. I was one of these EUPATI fellows in one of first cohorts, so it was fully free of charge at that time. I didn't even pay for these face-to-face meetings. I don't know how it looks like right now. I think that they are also reimbursed. The cost of accommodation is reimbursed for sure, but the participants have to pay for transport to these face-to-face meetings right now.
Okay. There was a question. Right. There was a question from Ingolf.
Yeah. First, thank you very much for this very enlightening introduction, and I thought it was very useful. That brings me second to the question, can we have your slides or some of your slides, for instance, the one which sets out all the different kinds of ways of participation for the patients in the process? This was too much to read and to keep in mind and memorize at once during these 5 minutes or 2 minutes you have shown it. And then third is related to your last slide, which is what is your experience, or are there studies on how to motivate people to participate in the trials, but also in the whole process of doing research design, etc. I discussed that quite a lot already with the patients in our group, and this is not so easy because it's not only a question of costs, etc. And you mentioned as the last thing the free access to the drug in case the whole process is successful. You say there's no legal obligation, but is there an experience? Are companies ready to grant this free access to the drug, because this could be a great motivation for the patient to be among the first to receive and use the drug if it's efficient. And so what is your experience in this motivation and encouragement policy?
Thank you very much for this question. Of course, all slides are available for you. I have sent it to Arabella, so you can use them. When it comes to the motivation part, I suspect it may be differ in different countries. In Poland, for example, people are rather not really willing to take part in clinical trials for many reasons. First of all, because they do not know what clinical trial is, and they don't want to be, let's say, people on which something is checked, let's say. But to be honest, we need to really think that we wouldn't have any drug if not clinical trials. So even this vitamin C, even the simplest painkiller had to undergo the whole process. It's necessary. So this is one thing. How to encourage people? Well, it all depends on the disease and on the phases of clinical trials, because as you have seen, the phase number 1 is the most risky one for patients. So phase number 3, for example, is currently, it's relatively very safe for patients, because it has been already, the new drug has been already checked in previous phases, in preclinical trials. So we know enormous knowledge about this drug already. So it all depends on the phase, as I said. What else? I wanted to add here that I wanted to say something more about this, and I just lost my.
Perhaps you think about that when I ask this question of the long-term effects of the drug. In clinical trials, you have a short-term test. In the first phase, it's not toxic, it's wonderful. It takes perhaps a year or 2 years for the first phase. Second phase, you test the effect. Yes, you see perhaps a useful effect. After 10 years or 15 years, suddenly it stops, the effect stops, and then perhaps all the toxicity starts very hard. This is a question patients have when they are asked to participate in this kind of.
This is what the phase 4 is about.
Yeah. Phase 4. Yeah. But if I take the drug now, phase 4 will show me in 10 years, yes, you are right. Has been really dangerous, and it's very bad for the patients who.
It happens. It happens sometimes.
What is the reply of the companies to this question?
Yes, of course. This is the phase 4 dedicated to this long-term usage of a drug. Of course, we have also something like pharmacovigilance, which is testing the drug in the whole time when it is used by people, generally speaking. So please imagine the drug leaflet. You always have the information on drug leaflet that if any side effects occur to you, you need to report them to the producer. This is how the producer is obligated to collect all this information, and based on this information from the public, it can, even the drug can be, withdrawn from the market if there will be a lot of people who mentioned or who reported these outcomes, or they will need to change the leaflet. Yes, so of course it's not possible, guys, it's not possible to check the whole population in, I don't know, 20 or 50 years time, how the drug will work. It's impossible, yes.
Yeah, it's a matter of risk and benefits from a drug. Sorry, Marzena,
Yes.
we have to move on with our program. We thank you a lot for your insightful presentation, and we might drop you an email from time to time if there is anything we might want to ask you. But thank you for your time, and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you very much, and have a good day and good conference later on. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.